In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right. It's Bryce D. Nyer coming at you from Fayetteville, North Carolina, here at Fort Bragg, also known now as Fort Liberty, but I'll never call it that ever because it's still always Fort Bragg to me. So, what are we going to talk about tonight on escaping the legal matrix, an attorney's exodus from bondage, and what? The legal profession, also known as the legal matrix. So, we want to talk tonight about truth, lies, and everything in between. Because as a lawyer, attorney, esquire, however you want to designate yourself after you're properly licensed in the state, jurisdiction, country, territory, wherever you are, you're going to come across in your life truth, lies, and everything in between. And what do I mean by that? Okay. So at some point, you decided you wanted to go to law school. Now, I have asked many people before, people that apply to me to be a law clerk or an intern that are already in law school, or those that are thinking about going to law school. I'm like, why do you want to go? And most of the time, you get these kind of canned answers. It's just the same thing all the time. And then when I talk to other people, they're like, I'd be a great lawyer because, I love to argue. And of course, I always well, if you love to argue, then hell, just get married. You'll get plenty of that. And the answers are just so boring. They're just boring. Because the reality is that most people think they know why they want to go to law school, but they're not really sure. And there are just various reasons. Some are just bored. Some have nothing better to do. Some aren't really aggressive about getting a job and they want to spend 3 more years in school versus really doing something meaningful. Now, I'm not saying going to law school isn't meaningful. I'm just saying you have to be clear on your focus and have clarity on why you want to go and why you want to be a lawyer. And there are many different things you can do in being a lawyer. You don't have to necessarily be a trial lawyer. You don't even have to take the bar exam. Excuse me. You can do other things with your law degree besides being a trial lawyer. But one clear thing that you will always encounter in the legal profession is this thing called truth. And there's truth or there's lies. There is no in between. There is no middle ground. Now, the topic of this session tonight is, truth, lies, and everything in between. What you're going to find out as you go through life, people tell you there are gray areas. I'm like, well, you in a criminal trial, you're going to try and create that gray area to get reasonable doubt. So your client is either a mistrial or not guilty. Or in a civil hearing where the burden of proof is less, trying to get that it's more probable than not, or clear, cogent, convincing evidence in your favor, whatever the standard of proof may be. But one thing is for sure in life. Something is true or it is not. For example, you jump off the top of a building, it's either true you're going to fall down to the earth because of gravity, or you're not. There's no in between. You're not on the space shuttle where there's zero gravity in space, or you're already underwater and you're diving and you're just floating in the ocean waiting for the big shark to come eat you. No, just kidding. So, again, there's truth to lies. Either you did something or you didn't. Either you said something or you didn't. And the problem with the legal matrix is that it does not really honestly care about the truth. The legal matrix really isn't interested in the truth per se. It's just this animal that just consumes you, everybody, money, time, talent, energy. It's just a blood-sucking leech. That's what it is. And you're going to find, after you graduate from law school and you get your first job, your law firm you work for, your partners, or maybe you're working for a state or federal government agency, they want you to what? They want you to win. Now, they'll tell you this, don't do anything unethical, don't do anything illegal, blah, 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 blah. They'll tell you that. Okay. Some of them really mean it, and some, not so much. And you want to know why? Because they want to win. Now, they may not know what you did to win, and they don't want to know about it. They're just like, just go do it. And they'll go to bed at night because they don't want to know. And you are going to get to that point in your legal career where you're going to be faced with truth or lies. It's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Because you're going to feel such high pressure to bring the result that your client wants, or that your law partners want, or that your boss wants. Again, if you're in a state or federal agency type of employment as a lawyer, and your ego is oftentimes going to get in the way. The legal profession is filled with conflict, collision, and contradiction. Everything that's happening in the world today is directly affected from the legal matrix, i.e. the legal profession. For example, let's take a few. And this conversation is not going to be one of these happy, clappy conversations we're having here. It's not. We're going to collide here. We're going to have some real conversations. If you don't like the subject matter, I don't know what to tell you. But we're going to discuss some things that may make you feel uncomfortable. You may not like them. We're going to discuss some legal truths and lies and these collisions that are occurring in the world and our culture all the time. And one of the prime examples is this whole thing about which gender am I? Now, there are some facts that you can argue them, but they're still a fact. You're either a man or you are a woman, a male or a female. I mean, there is like no in between here, okay? Now, I get some people are born with both types of sex organs, okay? But in their chromosomes, they're either a male or they're a female. And see, this is the whole problem with the legal matrix. The legal matrix is a vehicle that is being used to turn truth into lies and do it via the legal system. Again, it's a vehicle. It's a weapon, the weaponization of the legal profession via what? The legal matrix. Via the legal matrix. So that's just one example. Or you can go about marriage. Now, everybody has a different opinion. Is marriage between just a man and a woman? Or is marriage can it be two men and two women? Well, the U.S. Supreme Court said men want to marry men and women want to marry women. They can. It's legal. And so they've rendered their decision. Now, some people don't agree with that. And, there's a truth, there are not truth. Throughout civilization, marriages have typically been between a man and a woman. Or the next argument that that men can have children. No, they can't. I'm sorry, but a man does not have a uterus. They don't. They just don't. They don't. So then you have these people about, again, going back to transgender, where they're a woman transgendering into a man, and they still have a vagina, and they still have a uterus, and they have a kid, and they say, well, I'm a man and I had a kid. See, that's not truth. That's a lie, because you're still a woman. And men cannot bear children like women are designed to do. And I'm sorry, but that I didn't create human beings I didn't design them that way. That's just the way they are. And so you're going to have to go into court in your life, in your legal profession, and you're going to have to stand up there, and you're going to have to argue to a judge or a jury or an appellate court, or even all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court or Human Rights Commissions or whatever tribunal you're in. And you're going to have to look with a straight face, knowing that what you're arguing is complete and utter bullshit. Why? Well, that's my client. That's a position we're taking. And so lawyers, they get lost in this land of truth, lies, and the in-between. And so lawyers justify, well, this is my client. I don't have to agree with my client, blah, blah, blah. I'm representing the client. I'm representing the client's views, blah, blah, this position. Well, that's a nice cop-out. It's a nice cop-out. And I get, in criminal cases, you take your clients, you just get them, and you defend them because you're defending their rights to constitutional due process. I get it. But in some situations, in some cases, when you sit there and you stand up and you make an argument that is totally just bullshit, and what the truth is, you've already sold your soul. You have. You've sold out to the legal matrix. I am continually amazed and surprised that even the judges in the state and the federal judiciaries, being lawyers themselves, trained in litigation for the most part, will sit there and nod their heads and say, well, that's the law. I mean, when did we get to the point in the human race that we just started ignoring the obvious? Does common sense not come back into being a lawyer or being a jurist or, being a judge? I mean, what did we do in the legal profession? Well, I'll tell you what the legal matrix did. The legal matrix used spin. Yeah, S-P-I-N. Kind of like what the media does these days and has been doing for a long time. And so everything gets spun to where everybody's confused. And if you hear it enough, you start to believe it. Men could have babies. Men could have babies. Say it out a million times. You're right. Oh, my God, men can have babies. And you begin to really believe that bullshit. And this is what happens in the legal profession. And most lawyers, they're like, I'll take the case. And some will say, I'm passionate. I really feel passionate about this issue. Well, if your whole case is built on a foundation of lies, then what you're saying is you're passionate about lies. Because truth has to come in there somewhere. I mean, it's the solid foundation of everything. I mean, think about it. You get pissed if your spouse or significant other lies to you. Well, where were you tonight? Oh, I was at work. Oh, really? That's funny. Because Lisa here was going by drove by the restaurant and the bar, and she took her phone out, took a picture of you with this hottie little blonde in there. Oh, so you're at work. So let me guess. What are you doing? Okay. And you all get pissed because somebody lied. So now you're angry. So now you use a thou shalt not lie, to assert your position in that example. But yet, as a lawyer, you'll go into court and you'll feed the jury full of bullshit, and you'll argue to the judge knowing it's bullshit, and you'll convince yourself that the bullshit is true, just so you can look good and get the almighty greenback for you or your firm. And this is one of the biggest problems in the legal profession, because we're supposed to stand for truth and justice and blah, 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 and all this and all. But you know what? The legal system, i.e. the legal matrix, is probably, well, maybe not probably, it is the most corrupt organization in the world today. Because if the legal system operated in absolute complete truth, you'd have a lot less chaos. You would. Let's take an example. Let's say that every criminal defendant, if there was this magic thing where, you could come into court and the great cosmos or God videotapes everything, keeps a record and accounting of everything, and they present it in the courtroom as it was happening. Everything that was said, every thought, it's right there in front of you. And it's like either your client killed this person or they didn't. Either they robbed the bank or they didn't. And just think if you could walk into a courtroom where it's just total absolute truth. You couldn't doctor it. You couldn't spin it. And your client's like, yeah, I did it. So where does justice come in? Where's truth in all this? The prosecution wants to convict your client. Oh, what? In the prosecution, they can lie too. And they have. That's been proved in many cases throughout the centuries where the prosecution lied, made stuff up, fabricated evidence, knew things not to be true and sent innocent people to death row or to prison for their life or for decades. So truth has to be present if you're really going to live. If you live a life of lies, you're already dead. You're already dead. You're just another zombie of the legal matrix walking around. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with the legal profession and the legal matrix is that law schools and the courts all talk this game about truth and justice and having integrity. When you want to know what, a great percentage of the legal system, they live in lies, they speak in lies, and it's just lies. They just don't get caught. And they're not sorry about what they lied about. They're just sorry they got caught. I can't tell you the number of cases that I know or seen where when I listen to arguments and I'm like, I know that's bullshit. I know for a fact that's bullshit. And yet, here we are. We're arguing knowing the facts that we're arguing are not true. For what? Because of the pressure. And you law students, you say to yourself, I won't do that. I won't do that. Well, you don't know that yet till you actually get in the situation because you're just a law student. All you're thinking about right now is getting the hell out of law school, passing the bar exam, and getting your first job and getting a paycheck. That's what you're thinking about, and you want to impress the bosses. You want to win at all costs. Yeah, all costs, no matter what. So, truth. What is truth? Define truth. How do you define it? How do you define it? I mean, how do you go in and argue a case where you go in and argue well, men can have children, and you know they can't. It's just like, a couple years ago or last year, I don't know, whenever had the nomination of one of the current sitting Supreme Court justices, and they asked her to define a woman. And she stepped around and danced around and him and hawed. Why? Because she was scared. Why was she scared? If I say the truth, people hate me and they'll trash me and, I won't be politically correct. Come on. We know what a woman is. She knows what a woman is. She is one. She is one. And to sit there and testify in a Senate confirmation hearing and act like, I don't know, I can't define what a woman is. I'm going to think about this and, no. That was just the most stupid response or lack thereof I've probably seen in my whole legal career. I just find it amazing that people know the truth but dance around it because they're afraid of what others are going to say and live this life of the cowardly lion. And they just have no courage. They don't. And you young lawyers that, you're working for somebody else and then you open your own firms, I mean, you're going to be responsible and accountable for what you do or fail to do, what you say or fail to say. And when you hire law clerks, interns, associates, when you do that, you're going to be accountable and responsible for what they do or fail to do. And so what? Are you going to give them their marching orders and say, win at all costs, and whatever the hell you do, if you do something off the beaten path, don't tell me because I don't want to know? In most criminal cases, I've talked to attorneys that do first-degree murder cases. And I've asked them, do you ever ask your clients whether they did it? And just about everyone says, no, I don't. And I'm like, well, why don't you? And the response is because if I have to put them on the stand, which is probably not a good idea, but if I have to put them on the stand, I'm not allowed, if they lie, I'm not, there's certain ethical rules. You're not allowed to continue the line of questioning. You have to stop, kind of, figure it out, or, on a break, kind of bring them back and rehabilitate what's called rehabilitate their testimony, which means tell the truth, dummy. So a lot of them say, I just don't want to know. And what that does is it allows them to go in there and argue whatever the hell it is, because they may think they know, but they're like, no, I'm not certain, to my client did it. My client says he didn't do it. Or, I just don't want to know. So I'm going to go on the assumption, the presumption of innocence, which we should. There should always be this presumption of innocence, because we should never let the government just condemn everybody. I mean, we put them to the test here. At least we're supposed to. But, it's the greatest cop-out of all time. It really is. It gives them the ability to have, to go to, the everything in between. So either your client murdered somebody or they didn't. There's no in between. They either murdered somebody or they did. They either participated in it or they didn't. There's just no gray area in a situation like that. And it's just like people that, people have affairs. You either committed adultery or you didn't. Did you have sexual intercourse with this person who was not your spouse? Yes. Well, then that's adultery. Okay, you're married or she's married or somebody's married. That's just an example. Okay? You either were speeding, going over the speed limit, or you were not. What's the speed limit? 70. How fast are you going? 130 miles an hour. Ugh. Okay. That's speeding over the posted speeding limit. And all of us in life, all of us have twisted things at one time or another. Bar none. Bar none. Well, except Jesus. Okay? But everybody else, they've lied. At some point in their life. They have not always told the truth. It's embarrassing sometimes to tell the truth. And one of the things I learned when I joined Wake Up Warrior by the founder and CEO Garrett J. White was the motto and the code of Wake Up Warrior was stop lying, tell the truth, and do the work. That's a little bit more colorful than that, but we're on a podcast. But you can Google Wake Up Warrior and you can see what the other word that goes inserted in there. And, one of the things that I learned in Wake Up Warrior that Garrett J. White had said or summarized was basically this. The person that tells the truth telling the truth is basically a declaration of war in the land of liars. And he's right. If you go in and you're sitting with lawyers in a room and you stand up for the right thing and you tell the truth, there's not much they can do because you told the truth. And it makes them feel uncomfortable because they're not telling the truth. So when people go in and accuse, me of something or say, I'm like, you're right, I did. I said it. I meant it. I did. Then there's nothing else they can say. I've now taken their power away from them. I said what I said. That's what I said. You are correct. I did that. I said that. That's absolutely correct. Your next question is what? Is what? And most people want to hide. I bet that if you took everybody's email accounts and text messages for the last 10 years, and completely no redactions at all, you would be totally shocked at what you would learn about all these people that profess to live in truth. And I remember recently, I think it was maybe a year ago, I was in court and a bunch of lawyers were there sniping and talking about people, how they lie and cases and all this stuff. And it was in family court. And I just got sick and tired of listening to their bullshit. And I said, you know what? Why don't we take every lawyer, including the judge, and everybody in this courtroom, and it was packed. And I kind of said it loud. I said, why don't we all agree to sign a release, a total release for all your emails and text messages for the last 10 years to be completely displayed, categorized, and read. And everybody just kind of looked at me. I'm like, ooh. So let's see. We're all throwing the stones in the glass house. Ooh, the glass is breaking. And I just said, come on. I'm like, let's hear it. What, anybody agree to it? Does anybody agree to it? Ooh, what's that sound? That's exactly what I got. Crickets. And so, again, you law students, you young lawyers looking to make that transformation and make that shift, you can live your life in lies. You can do that, and you're going to die every day. You're going to have shame, and you're going to have guilt, and it's just going to be ugly, and you're going to lose sleep. And one day, for all of us, our lies are going to catch up to us. They will. They always do. My lies have caught up to me before, and it wasn't pretty. It was ugly. It's horrible. It's like a hell on earth. And you don't want to live that way. So, I want you, as your homework tonight, today, whatever time zone you're in, just take a look in the mirror. Do a self-audit. Are you really living in truth? I mean, are you even living with truth with yourself? Or are you just lying about everything in all the domains of body, being, balance, business, and fulfillment? I mean, I've lied to myself many times thinking, it's all good, it's all great. And it wasn't all good and it wasn't all great. Until you awaken one day and truth stares you back in the face. All right. Well, you've got some homework. You've got some things to think about. It is a heavy subject. Truth is always a heavy subject. They say the truth shall make you free. I believe that. The truth shall set you free. It shall make you free. However you want to interpret it, however you want to translate it. If you live in lies, you might get away with something for a while. It may feel good, the pleasure, or whatever. But eventually it all catches up to you, even if nobody ever finds out. Because you still know. All right. Well, folks, that's another session of Escape the Legal Matrix. An attorney's exodus from the bondage of the matrix in the legal profession. So you've got some homework. Again, I want you to think about that subject about truth, T-R-U-T-H. Truth, lies, and everything in between. This is Bryce D. Nyer from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, also known as Fort Liberty, but I'll never call it that. You've got some homework to do. Think about it. What's that truth in your life? Take that look in the mirror. Do that self-audit. This is Bryce D. Nyer, and we are out of here.